Before we get started, I think staff has asked everyone in the room to please sign in, just so we have a list of who's in attendance. I think sign-in sheets are on the side. Is that right? Thanks. Good evening. Call the meeting to order at 5:36. Clint, would you provide invocation?
Please pray with me. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us encourage, engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group and bonds as a community. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Flag salute, please.
Would you please stand for the flag salute?
If you would call roll, please.
Kevin Keener. Drew Jackson.
Here.
Shane Knight.
Here.
Clint Warner.
Here.
Whitney Kerr. Here.
First order of business is approving minutes from November 2nd.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Call for vote, please. Next order of business is consideration of possible action on the 2022 Planning Commission regular meeting calendar. Danielle?
This is just the yearly update for the regular planning commission meetings that'll be held in 2022. Staff did not find anything that was in conflict as far as holidays or anything like that, so should be good to go there, unless you guys have anything.
Any discussion?
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Call for a vote. There are no other consent items, so we'll move to the public hearing portion. First is a discussion, consideration, possible action on PC 2021-31, a replat request for property located at Chuckwall Street and Murray Drive.
This is a replat request for property that is located near Chuckwa and Marie. This is the larger piece of property that is zoned as C2. It's the one kind of that's directly behind IHOP and kind of near the Birds Law Firm and that kind of area. So what they're wanting to do is they're wanting to separate the lot, that big lot, into two lots. So it's, as a single lot, it is about 10 acres, and they're wanting to divide it up into one lot that's about 5 acres, and the others are just under 5 acres. The current lots do meet the C2 zoning category. There have been some questions about the easement. The city manager sent out a letter asking and concerning of the I'll just read it that way. It's stated. It says, Mayor Gruby and Chairman Keener, I have concern with the dedication of 2 future streets to the city of Durant that will connect directly to Chuckwa. I have discussed my concern with this design with CARES representatives in the past, to no avail, I must assume. I also have a concern with the creation of Lot 2 that is designed to be split by future dedicated City Durant Street. So there's the concern from the city manager. Obviously, there's other concerns that was listed in your packet from several citizens in the area. The future land use map does have this as commercial. As far as the plat itself, staff did sign off on the plat. When we talked to Karis about the easement, it was stated that it was going to be mainly for utilities as well as kind of some cross-access if needed, between the two lots. And that's the main piece of it. In the packet, we did ask that a signature page be provided. That has been done. We have the full plat with their signatures and everything on it, so that is taken care of. The only other thing was to ensure that a stormwater permit is pulled from the Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality prior to any building permits, and that was pretty much all that was noted on there. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Representatives from Karis is also here to answer any other questions as well.
Okay, thank you. First off, I'd like to say that, this has been an ongoing discussion in terms of this piece of property. We've had a number of questions, in addition to the city manager's concerns. I've noted several as well, including the application. The use does not match the current zoning. I think we've had some issues with, the streets on Choctaw, et cetera. So it's, for the committee's sake, it's my opinion that this is not an actionable item as it stands. So I would recommend taking no action, but I'll leave it for discussion for the committee.
I did not bring it with me, but there we go. Shane has one. That was the one thing I forgot this evening. I apologize.
My second issue is, for whatever reason, it is refusing to load the draft of the plat. Do you have is that, okay.
I've had to do it 3 times. Third time it came up.
Yes, please.
And as memory serves, the long-term care facility, and I'll let Whitney look, but as memory serves, it was where a long-term care facility was allowed in C2, if memory serves.
I'm probably got a similar concern to what Whitney's bringing up. We are currently zoned C2. They've requested a proposed use of nursing home and hospital on their application. Neither of those is allowed in C2.
Correct. The hospital's in, I'd have to double check it, but I believe the hospital's only allowed in
H1.
H1, I believe, but I'm not, I apologize, I should have brought
It
that
is,
with me.
according to our chart that I just handed to
Okay.
Whitney. It's H1, and nursing home is only allowed in H1 also.
Correct.
I'm probably in agreement with what Drew said. Should we be reviewing a preliminary plat for a development that currently can't happen on a lot for this zoning classification?
I normally lean on Tom, and he's not here, so, because that's more of the legal question.
I'll tell you, I surely don't feel comfortable
Right.
voting
right,
on
and
something
normally-
that I know can't happen in this classification.
Right, and normally, you're right, we do have to make sure the zoning classification is there, and correct. And the last time that the conversation was that it was more of a long-term care facility than it was a nursing home. And it was supposed to be like rehab and, that type
But
of facility.
We had that discussion at the last meeting.
Correct.
And I or one of the other committee members asked specifically what it was. It was referenced as a nursing home. It's also listed as nursing home as on the
Right,
application.
and, yeah, right,
So being that it's stated on the application,
right, you have to go with what's
it
stated,
wouldn't be prudent
right.
for us to cross that out and classify as something else, or
Yeah.
I don't believe so. So, I mean, there's a path forward,
Right,
but I think as it's stated is not it.
So I have another question about the application as well. in the actual application, it's listing the full 15.5 acres. In the staff review, it's talking about 9.8 acres. So are we dealing with the full 15? Are we dealing with 8? Like, what is the division there?
So this originally was platted as Durant Town Center. And part of that also included where the Applebee's, IHOP, Freddy's, and that piece is. Whenever that piece went in, and they did that final plat, it actually pulled out the Applebee's, IHOP, and all that in the original plat. Whenever that was platted. Now the only piece left is that it's about 10 acres on the back behind there, and that's the piece that we're actually dealing with.
So just one concern I have is that that's not real clear from the application, because the application's implying it's the full 15.5, and that is a problem if our application that's going out has a bigger property description than what we're actually referencing. One of the other things, have you had any communication with the law firm that sent a letter citing some issues with title and things like that?
Yes, I did actually talk with them today. They planned on being here, but they had a conflict and was unable to make it. The issues that they are referring to is to do with the two houses that are directly to the west of this development, and then in those issues, because that piece of property has never been correctly split off from anything else. So technically that was an illegal subdivision that was done there, which is what we discovered when we came through the first time, a year or so ago. So, and then that's what their concerns is, and they didn't say anything necessarily about this piece here, but they.
So the reason that concerns me, and that concerns me in relation to the whole project, is if we're talking about transfer deeds that are at least partially void on their face, potentially, you have a problem, especially if you start rezoning, not rezoning, but if you start platting out property that there's a serious question about whether or not the deed is void. And I have not looked at the transfer paperwork. I've not tracked through that because, I'm not dealing with an abstract. I'm not doing a title opinion, so I've not gone all through that. But from a legal perspective, that certainly caused me to question if that was a real good idea for us to be dealing with this if there's another issue hanging out there that has not been addressed about the property.
Right. And the way, because I had our GIS tech go in and ensure kind of where that boundary was over in that area, and it does not include that smaller piece of property that's there or the houses. So based on what we have seen between what was actually platted and and the properties that have the potential issues, is that it's not, this replat does not is not touching those properties. From a legal standpoint, I sent it off to our city attorney as well, because I was like, okay, do we have a problem? And I haven't heard anything back from him. So, and he's supposed to be here this evening, but I haven't, obviously he's not here.
To be honest, that's not a question I can answer.
Yeah,
You
me
may
neither.
have a problem. You may
Right.
have a problem. It's enough of a problem and enough of a question in my mind that I'm not real happy about doing anything either way while that's hanging out there somewhat unresolved.
I understand.
Any other discussion? I would like to speak to the applicant briefly. This is something that we would like to get right. And if you will allow, I'll commit to working with the city manager over the next couple of weeks and outlining a number of issues that we'd like to see resolved, that would get you closer to a recommendation for approval.
Okay.
I certainly, my personal motive, and intent, I want to be clear, is not against Karis. There's just a number of issues that, are pre-existing to this property, a number of commitments made to the community regarding this property, that we have a responsibility to get right. So My apologies for extending this further. I know you guys, have been pursuing this for a season already.
It's basically just because our current facility is so aged, we have, 40 people in there who need better living conditions. Obviously, that building has had lots of trouble over the time that we've been there, so that's our urgency, basically. We've had to evacuate once because of a gas leak on midnight on a Saturday night and just different things like that. So, in my mind, we have a lot of aged skilled nursing facilities. There's not a lot of skilled nursing and long-term care facilities for even people to go around here. And my goal is to cooperate with the city and make sure we do things the right way, but also to make sure I can rehome my residents, soon, that are also counting on this, who are also citizens here as well. So I want to make sure we get it right. I want to be good, long-term partners. I think that our reputation would precede that in any city that we've been in, but it's definitely been a long process, and we are at a hindrance on our current building. So we do need to make some decisions, quickly for the sake of the folks, the residents that we have in that building. That's my primary concern and why I'm pushing this. It's certainly not to just, try to be difficult or put up a retail center or something like that.
We appreciate your partnership, and again, at least speaking for myself, this is not, personal towards Karis, but simply trying to address some of the pre-existing issues that we've had with this piece of property and making sure that we get that right. Unfortunately, as I view it, the application, as submitted tonight, isn't actionable, simply because it's not, it doesn't match, the use does not match, zoning, along with some other issues. So, I'll commit to act as a liaison with the other commission members and get feedback from them and get that to city manager so that we can get something, hopefully in a expedited fashion. Probably 2 weeks would be my guess.
Obviously at your mercy, and so are all my residents. So I think we'll all be happy when we can just move this forward as quickly as possible. And again, I'm here to work with you guys any way we need to get this taken care of. I hate that I bought this piece of property at this point because my little folks have been looking at it for a long time and we haven't been able to do anything. So as quickly as we can move forward, it'd be much appreciated.
I understand. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Danielle, I have a question. If we decide to table this issue, it comes back the following month. If we take no action, there's an open-ended date on when it comes back. Is that correct?
Correct. And if you table it, it'll come back exactly as
Oh,
it
it comes back
is.
exactly as is.
Correct. And then if you take no action, then essentially that starts the process all over again, to where they'll have to do publications and all that again.
Okay. But given the current zoning classification, they're gonna have to do that anyway. Unless
Yeah,
they-
I mean,
unless
if that,
they-
right,
I mean,
yeah.
they
if
obviously don't wanna change their use, which I can understand, but we've got to help them rectify it somehow,
Right.
so.
So we'll take no action on that item and move on to PC 2021-32, discussion, consideration, possible action, amending section 157.032 of the Durant Code Ordinance.
Sorry, I was making some notes. So what this is after the September Planning Commission meeting, we had the conversation of wanting to see how other cities handle setbacks within the commercial industrial zoning districts. Then in October, we kind of presented that research, and then it was asked to see about moving forward on putting together some language and that type of thing. So what we're bringing to you is kind of what we, as staff, has put together. So what you'll find is the changes, I'll kind of cover those real quick. In the C2 zoning district, we included a side setback that was in the adjacent to non-residential district. We changed that from none to 10 feet. And then in the C3 is where we made the most changes. So we took the lot area from none to 8,000 square feet, the lot width at front build line to 80 feet, the front setback at 25 feet, The side to non-residential was 10 feet. The exterior was 15 feet. The rear is 20, and the height maximum is 35. And then on I-1, we changed the side setback of adjacent to non-residential from none to 10 feet, and then the rear from none to 20 feet. And those numbers kind of came from what we saw in other cities, but as well as just looking at our current setbacks and adding some numbers in there. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them and see what you guys think.
I looked at it and thank you. I think it looks a lot better and makes more sense to have some sort of setback in those categories. I didn't have any changes to note on the ones that you guys had already made. My only note was we changed a side setback on I-2 and a rear setback on I-2, or I-1, sorry. But we didn't make any changes on I-2.
Correct.
And I'm wondering if we should make the I-2 match I-1 in that circumstance.
And staff talked about that, and one of the reasons we really didn't make any changes there is because I-2 is meant to be kind of your less restrictive district, and so that was we kind of decided to leave it as is, but if you guys would like to change that, then we certainly can add that in there.
Well, I just, on the rear and side setbacks, those were the only two in the I-2 classification. Those were currently 0. And I don't know, I think some sort of setback from a property line, especially I-2, when we're talking about a more industrialized classification, there should be some sort of setback there from the property line.
Yeah, we can certainly add that in there if that's the agreement of the commission.
I agree.
So if you do an approval motion, I would just ask that you ask to include that in your motion.
Anybody? I'll make everybody good?
Any further discussion? Motion?
So I'd like to make a motion that we approve as amended in our packet, but also add a minimum side setback and rear setback in I-2 to match the new I-1 classification setbacks.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Call for a vote, please. Any new business? Have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, thank you.